So let's start with discussing about how do we pass on the parameters from one action method to another action method. So now that we have discussed about how do we display collection from home controller into MVC. So if you see, we have got index method, we created a collection and we returned a view called as my view, which consists of EMPS collection. And inside the view, we made a very small change in the last demo, and the change was we constructed a table and using the server side code in person bracket we tried to create rows inside that table. Now take an example. We need a selection of particular number and we want to pass on that number to home controller some another method. So let's start by making changes into home controller first. So I would want in a home controller a method here which is going to return some action result, and let's say method name is edit. So situation is we want to edit some employees record, and for which we would expect some parameter which can be some integer id over here, and then I'm going to return null as of now from here because we want to check initially that how parameters can be passed to the method itself. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here again and I'm going to ASPX view. Inside the view, as you can see, we have got item number mentioned. Now inside the TD, can we add on some anchor tag? So yes, let's add anchor tag. Let's specify href to go to. So I want on click, browser should give a request to home slash method called as edit, and the parameter we need to pass is a number itself, and which will be this value item number. So if you see, it's partially hard coded and partially the data will come from server side, and then we'll form a full URI to visit using anchor tag. And then what we want to display over here, maybe we need to display something similar, maybe only number. So number will be acting as a link, and on click we will navigate to home slash edit and we'll pass on the number as a parameter. And that number will come over here and will be taken as an ID here onwards. Let's save this and let's see what happens if we run the code now. Initially, as you know, the default call will be offered to home slash index. Let's run the code now. Let's say F5. So as you can see, initial call goes to home slash index. Then we have this UI constructed. Let me right click and show you the view source. So after you click on view source, you may observe this, that we have got the table constructed. And inside the table, as you can see, we have got 10 as a value inside. But then at the same time, full href value is a home slash edit, partially hard coded, slash 10, which is a value added from the server side itself. And now we have, you can see different URIs with different parameters here, slash 10, slash 11, slash 12. So what I'm going to do now, if you try clicking, you can see at the left bottom, the link is localhost colon 61786 slash home slash edit slash 10. Same way, different link with different parameter, link with different parameter again. So if I click on 11th, suppose, you click here and suddenly the code breaks into edit method. So we again gave a call to home slash edit, which means different action method, second call. And then in the ID, as you can see, we have a parameter which is 11 or so. And now we can use this parameter to find out the respective employee from this collection, and then respective employee can be represented maybe for editing purpose or maybe for viewing purpose in detail format. So it's that easy to pass on the data. Now can we pass on anything over here? Let's try that. So I'm going to stop the debugging now. Let me add here a small change I'm going to make here. Instead of ID, I will just mention number here. So integer number is what I expect now. And again, I'm going to run the same project. This doesn't seem to be a big difference as of now. So run the index method. Now we are going to give a call to edit slash 12. You click here and then suddenly program breaks. So this code was working very fine and suddenly we get a problem. What's the change we did? We only changed the variable name from ID to number. And if you notice now, the error itself conveys that right now you are trying to send a parameter called as number, and then that parameter is something which is not at all expected. Which means who defines this format? Who defines that home is a controller? Who decides index or edit is action method? And who decides ID was a parameter which was allowed? As you may have noticed this earlier, under the folder called as app start, we have concept called as root config, which means ASP.NET MVC engine by default knows this kind of a format only for the URI. That is, the first part of the URI will be always taken as a controller. Second part of the URI will always be taken as action. And the last part of the URI will always be taken as an identity over here. And the parameter expected, ID parameter, was completely optional, which was already conveyed to ASP.NET MVC engine. And because of which, when initially we tried to run the code, home slash index, it worked because we did not pass ID because it was optional parameter. And next time when we passed ID, it was taken as it is, and that's what we used it. Which means parameter name expected was ID. But what if I don't want to pass on ID? What if I want to pass on number there? In that case, you may pass on number, no problem with that. Can I say slash over here name? You can, but then imagine a case wherein we want to pass on 10 different parameters. Will we keep on expanding these values in such a manner? Obviously no. This URI itself looks ridiculous then. Or obviously some or other time we will fail in terms of number of characters which can be passed in the URI itself because of the limitation in the URI size itself. So passing parameters in the way we just discussed is not a good option at all. So can we pass on the form parameters then? If yes, how do we pass on those form parameters? What if I want number there in here? How do I collect that number? What if I wish to pass on the parameter like int number only? We have a solution. Go to my view ASPX. It was default that after slash what lies all the time is ID parameter, and that was default, but I really want to pass on number parameter. So we have a solution. You put question mark just like we put up in a query string in ASP.NET Web Forms. Specify number equal to, and then you put up the number value as it is. It's that simple. Now again, if I run the code, let's see what happens here. So we'll run the index page first. We'll have the UI, and now I'm going to click on the 11th one. Have a look at the code, guys. It's edit question mark number equal to 11. And now when I click on button over here, it breaks into code again, and have a look. We have a value in number equal to 11. So the problem is we pass the parameter and now we are not getting any exception here. Reason behind that, now we have a number value which was passed as a query string. So if you want the default URI to be obeyed, pass on it as an ID. Pass on value directly and accept it as an ID here, as an integer ID. If you want to pass on many number of parameters, put question mark and a query string becomes option then. So can I pass on some other parameter as well? Let's try that. Let's put comma. Let's put here string name. And again, I'm going to run the project. I missed the part. I need to convey in view as well. I have to pass on name. So maybe after this, I'll try to create one more time, maybe another URI part. So this is double quote complete. I'll say ampersand, and maybe I'll hard code here equal to some hard coded name. Let's run the code again. Run the code. You can see the URI now below. So URI is number equal to at the left bottom. Maybe I should reduce the size of the browser so that all of us can see it. So look at the URI for the 12th one, which appears at the left bottom of the browser. It is home slash edit question mark number equal to 12 and name equal to hard coded. This can be changed to consume name from our code itself or from data itself. So not a problem. Let's click here And observe now, we have number equal to 12 and we have got name equal to hard coded. So as long as you want to pass on any number of parameters, we can always pass on those parameters with the help of query strings also. It's very simple that way. Now take another example. How do we pass on the values from the form itself? So far we passed on the values with the help of query string. How do we pass on the values from the form itself? That's something which you need to understand in a while.